Alright, so now we've gone over everything in Surds. And what we're going to do is we're going to run through a lot of exam style questions. Now, all of these are from the AQA paper. But don't worry, if you do the Edexcel or OCR, all we're trying to do right now is just go through exam questions which you could get, and it just happens these are from the AQA. The OCR and Edexcel ones, I'll be running through papers later on anyway, but more importantly, you should be able to do these regardless of what what exam board you're doing. So yeah, follow this, because these questions could come up in either one. So okay, so let's start with this one. So you're given root 12 plus root 27, yeah, and you're told that you can write that in the form a root 3, which is a certain amount of root 3s, where a is the integer. Find the value of a. So now here's the deal. What should you be doing straight away? And this one is about wherever you see like a big surd, yeah, two things which you can break down. And remember, that's what you should be doing first. It doesn't. I don't even care what the question is right now. You see big ones like that, break it down. You're going to see a common, you're going to see it's happen a lot with this. So okay, root 12, remember, there's a few ways we can break that down. We could do root 2 times root 6. But again, that's useless to us because we're trying to, when we break it down to two smaller sets, we want one, which is like root 4, root 9, root 16, root 25. So we can turn that straight into a number. So the one we're interested in is root 4 root 3, which obviously just becomes 2 root 3. We're going to do the same for 27. So one way straight away is root 9 root 3. I don't know if there's another way. That becomes 3 root 3. And this is the question done. So now instead of using root 12 plus root 27, which is what we're trying to add, remember at the first glance we think, well wait, these are two different surds, we can't add them. But here's the thing, we should know better. They will break down into smaller surds, which they have. So this is 2 root 3, root 12. This one is 3 root 3. Now we're adding them. Remember, that's just saying there's two little root 3s here. Root 3, root 3. There's 3 little root 3s here. 3 root 3. Yeah, which gives us 5 root 3. That's our answer. Always write your answer in there as well. Yeah, but another reason, look at this. If you look at this, see how similar that is to doing 2x plus 3x? How that would give you 5x? Well look, do you see the end results? Okay, so there you go. So this one, look, find the value of m plus p squared when m equals root 2, root 8. The first thing we do, root 8, yeah? Can you see, I don't really care. I'm not even bothered what the question is just yet. You're going to see this common thread. I see a big surd, I'm going to break it down. I know that root 8 can be written as root 4, root 2. That equals 2 root 2. So okay, so I'm literally going to be doing this. So instead of putting root 2 plus root 8 squared and trying to multiply those brackets out, remember, if you were asked to find, multiply this out, you'd have no problem. You just do x plus y, and you just do the double brackets. But with this one, even better right now, we're going to be doing plus 2 root 2 squared. So what we do for that, double brackets, make our life nice and easy. This is going to be simple, guys. Okay. So just like double brackets, we do that. Root 2 times root 2, that's just 2. Root 2 times 2 root 2, think about this. Root 2 times 2 root 2. Well, look, root 2 times root 2 equals 2. And then we still got this times 2, that equals 4. So let's now we've got plus 4. And we do this. 2 root 2 times root 2, again, that's the exact same as this. Write it if you want. 2 root 2 times root 2. You see, root 2 times root 2 is 2. 4. Right, now final thing, you do 2 root 2 times 2 root 2. What is that, guys? Should be getting this. That's just 2 times 2 times 2 times root 2. This is 4, this is 2. So plus 8. So our answer is 18. That's it. I'm going to put the circle around there. Right, so follow that. Now I'm going to rub that out because I want more space for these questions. This is a bit of a nightmare, as you can see. So okay, so that was that question. So okay, so we've done that one. It feels good to have a little bit of space to work with. Oh, bloody hell. Okay, so let's go to the bottom one. So this one's saying show that for this, first thing I deal with, root 12. I can break that down to root 4, root 3. So I will deal with that. So that's 2 root 3. So I'm now going to be bothered with 2 root 3 plus root 3 squared. And I want to show, squared just literally means double bracket multiplication. And apparently, I want to show that equals 27. So hopefully, when I do this double bracket multiplication, that's going to equal 27. So 2 root 3 times 2 root 3. It's the same as, hopefully you guys are now comfy breaking this down. Won't keep doing too many of these because I get bored myself. That's going to give me 4 times root 3 times root 3, which is 3, 12. So the first thing I get is 12. Then what do I have to do? I have to do 2 root 3 times root 3. 2 times root 3 times root 3. That's 3. That's 2. That gives me 6. Right, then I do the exact same thing here. 3 times 2 root 3. That's also giving me 6. And finally, root 3 times root 3. That's 3. Now if I add that up, will you believe it? It equals 27. I have shown that. So now I move down. I'm really cramped for space. Alright. Show that PS. Alright, so that, firstly we're going to get clear, is this distance, yeah, is equal to 3. Well, how am I going to do this? So this is very common with Surds. It will give you a question. You know what? Let me make it finer. Yeah, that would be much better. It's much thinner. Yeah. So can you see? Look, there's a few things going on. You know, and you know this isn't your typical Surd question. There's quite a lot going on in this, and you're going to have to get very comfy with that. They like to do that with Surds. Surds generally they kind of stick in with this kind of question. But anyway, what you have to do here is notice that, look, you've got a right angle triangle here. Okay, you know this side. This is root 8 plus root 2. This side is root 12 plus root 3. And you're asked to find out this. Well, can you imagine if you had this Pythagoras, by the way, yeah? And if you're not comfy on how to do Pythagoras, then I guess this question won't mean much to you. I guess you can watch and learn. But once I do this, I want you to at least watch how I do the multiplication and all that. But yeah, if I gave you a question like this, you'd have no problem. You should be doing 5 squared equals 4 squared plus x squared. Well, nothing changes. This is a right angle triangle. That's the longest side. You're trying to find out one of these. Well, here's the thing. This is the longest side. You're trying to find this out. So it's still going to be the same. First things first, though, I don't like this 12. Instead of the 12, I'm going to do root 4 root 3, which gives me 2 root 3. Okay, instead of this 8, yeah, that's the same as root 4 root 2, so 2 root 2. So the first thing I do is I change my little thing up. It's always more easy. It's always easy to do it like this. Okay, so I got that thing. Over here, I've got 2 root 2. You can even change it here. Yeah, you don't need those big ones. There's never any use of them. It's always better. It's a smaller thing. And that's it. Okay, so it's going to be this equals, and all of that. So you've got to put it in a big bracket. Okay, we know this squared is going to equal, firstly, our x squared plus this whole thing squared. So 2 root 2 plus root 2 squared. Now, the other kind of like, here's, so as I go along, I'm going to commentate on other exam kind of like techniques and tricks you should know. Now, do you notice this is a part B? So, not always, but a lot of the time, you should look at what they're asking you to do in the top one here. They like show that this, yeah, equals 27. Well, guess what? Remember, that's what this is. We're now trying to square it, aren't we? No, I've changed that, because remember, this could literally, this was, we found out this was the same as saying this anyway. So, the first part of the question is saying like, look, you know, I'm telling you that this equals 27. So I don't actually have to work this whole thing out. Yeah, because in a way I worked it on this one. So don't bother multiplying it out again and doing it. You know that this is 27. I still got to do the other one though. I still got to do this, unfortunately. But, you know, it's better than nothing. So let's do that. It's a double bracket multiplication. I'll change the colour as well. So we've got 2 root 2 plus root 2, 2 root 2 plus root 2. I'm going to go through this a little quick. 2 root 2 times 2 root 2. Hope you guys are happy, is 8. I swear I did this in like one of the other questions, but I might be wrong on that, by the way. That 2 root 2 times root 2, so that's root 2, so we'll make 2 times 2, so you get plus 4 there. This is the exact same thing, plus 4. You get root 2 add root 2, gives you 2. So that actually gives you 18. So look, check this. You get plus 18. So now let's so that's now a scales equation. Can you see that? So you've got 27 here. Remember, your aim is to find x. We call that x. Okay? So you got x squared plus 18. Well, guess what I do? I take away 18 from each side. Yeah? That gives me 9 equals x squared. Which, by the way, is the exact same thing as saying x squared equals 9. And finally, and this is an interesting thing, I wonder if you watched that video which I put up on like the important thing about surds, which hardly anyone knows. Now, this is saying find a number which if you square by itself, it gives you 9, right? Well, obviously, 3 times 3 gives you 9, and obviously minus 3 times minus 3 gives you 9. So what's the answer? Do we put x equals 3 or minus 3? Well, not in this question, because this is asking what's the length of this. You can't have a minus 3. So, like most questions, ignore it. Okay? Literally ignore it. And your answer you've shown is x equals 3, just like the question said. Show that. Alright, so let's go down. By the way, yeah, I mean, look, this is the deal with a lot of questions, you know. This question here, you can see it's Pythagoras and it's surds. I haven't really gone through the Pythagoras. Those of you who are comfortable with Pythagoras, this will make sense. If not, that's a problem. So notice this. This is the problem which a lot of people have in, when they do GCSE maths. It's, obviously there are questions which come up reasonably similar to how you're asked. But this question is really strange because it's kind of bringing together two different parts of maths, like surds and Pythagoras. You've got to get comfy with that. And one of the best ways to get comfy with that is just to understand, how surds work, how Pythagoras work, and to understand, also that surds just work like normal bracket multiplication. So, it will seem difficult at the start, but the more and more you do this, trust me, it's like doing anything, I guess. I mean, I don't know, for you, I guess same thing as everyone starts off, there's probably a time where, say, any of you guys play football, there's probably a time you can do kick-ups, but then you can do kick-ups, you play cricket, time where you just can't get the position right, and then you're kind of stroking it beautifully, it's coming off the bat, it's just instinctive. If you know how to do kick-ups, you don't have to think about it. Similar for cooking. There was a point where you really had to focus, this is how much salt you have to put in. Do it enough, it's just it becomes second nature. Sure, the same things with ballet and, I don't know, man, everything basically, okay? So you're going to have to take my word with this. You've got to keep practicing this stuff. And if you do, I promise it gets easier. Alright, so here's the next question. So it's saying the triangle PQR, which by the way is this whole triangle, it wants you to find the area of this triangle. Okay, and it wants you to give your answer in the form a root 2. That just means like, look, you're not going to get a perfect number. Whatever number you do get, it's going to break down, if it isn't already broken down, to something times root 2. So here's what you have to do. Here's literally what you have to do. You're like, oh, where do I start? Where do I start? Here's what you start with. It wants you to find the area of a triangle. That's all you care about first. Don't worry about all this information going on. So look, if you want an area of a triangle, how do you find that for any of them? It's half times base times height. Well, remember, it's this whole area now. So look, what is the base? It's this whole bit here. Okay? All of this. And as you've seen with this, yeah, this was 2 root 2 plus root 2. Oh wait, yeah, 2, oh my god, I could have done this way easier for you guys for this one. You know, I just realized, do you know what was a much better way of doing this? So if you had 2 root 2 plus root 2 squared, can you guys see inside here? That's what root 2, this is 2 root 2s, that's the exact same thing as doing 2x plus x, which should have given you 3x. You know, so you could have actually simplified the inside of this to that. Yeah, see that? And then this just becomes 3 root 2 times 3 root 2, which obviously is just the same thing, 3 times 3 times root 2 times root 2. Okay, that's 9, that's 2. So do you see how much easier that would have been to do this? And funnily enough, even for this higher one here, can you see you could have got to this stage? Yeah? You could have actually simplified that to 3 root 3 squared. And that would have just been 3 root 3 times 3 root 3, which would just been 3 times 3 times root 3 times root 3. This would be just 9 times 3, which gives you 27. How much easier is that? See, this is the beauty of just kind of like doing these things quickly. Sorry, like breaking these things down. I can't believe I didn't see that this time. But hopefully that makes sense to you as well. So realistically, it shouldn't even take this long. But did you see, even though I didn't simplify these, which I definitely should, because I followed it correctly, even though it wasn't the quickest way, I'll still get to the right answer. So an important thing here is, like, you might sometimes do a question, you might go about it some way and say like it's not the exact way the mark scheme went. Don't worry, as long as you know what you're doing and it makes sense to you, always get the right answer. Well, anyway, so this one, I need the base, so it's all of this. And now I can see you see the base would be 2 root 2 plus root 2 plus root 2. Exact same thing as saying 2x plus x would equal 4x. That's why this is 4 root 2. So okay, my base is 4 root 2. Now my height, I know what my height is. It was this thing. I found that out. That was 3. So my height is 3. So literally, I just need to do half times base times height. So half times 4 root 2 times 3. What's that going to equal? So, you know, I'll probably start off by doing that. That will give me 12 root 2. Still need to multiply this by half, which just means take half of it. There's a few ways you can do that. But the answer is 6 root 2. One of the ways you could do that is this. Because you know that's a fraction times a number. You could have put 2 root 2 over 1. Yeah? You see that will become 2 times root 2 on the top. 2 times 1 on the bottom. Cancel, cancel. Sorry, I meant 12 here as well. Yeah? That would have been so that would have been 6 times 2. 6 root 2. God, I'm getting sloppy today, right? Right, so there you go. So that's the answer to that. Hopefully I'll improve my maths. God, I'm supposed to be a tutor as well. How disgraceful is that? Alright, so let's have a look at this. What's the first thing we're going to do, guys? Root 32. Let's break that down. So now here's an interesting thing. You might be tempted to go for root 4, root 8, because that will give you 2 root 8. But you guys also see there's a root 16, root 2. Now that will give you straight to 4 root 2. You might as well use that one. It's much better. This one, remember, it's not wrong. It's just that root 8 breaks down further to 2 root 2. So obviously this would then give you 2 times 2 root 2, which gets you to that anyway. So let's show that. So now we've got to the point of 4 root 2 plus root 2, yeah, squared. This one, the inside, 4 root 2 add root 2 gives you 5 root 2. Again, if you're not getting this, you've got to watch the earlier video, squared. So now I'm just timesing this thing together by itself. Okay, which is just 5 times 5 times root 2 times root 2. 5 times 5 is 25, root 2 times root 2 is 2, 50. Right, so now look at this. The diagram shows that the area of this whole triangle, this thing, is 30. Area equals 30. The length of AB, this whole base, that's our base. Yeah? But this is all information. We don't need to... This is another thing, alright? So we're getting a lot of information here. We're getting a lot of information. So it goes, calculate the perpendicular height of the triangle. So we need to find out this thing. Write your answer in the formula, right? So now here's the deal. We need to calculate that height. And here's what you got to think. Notice they're giving you extra information at area. So we know that area, another way of writing area, and this is really common, look out for this. So they told you area is 30, but you know, by yourself you could have figured out that half times base times height is also the area. So do you see you've got 2 different bits of information about the area. Therefore, the half times base times height for this triangle is going to have to give you 30. And on top of that, you know that the base is 4 root 3, so you can stick that into here. So then you get half times 4 root 3 times height equals 30. Well now look, yeah, that scales. So let me just first kind of simplify this up. Half times 4 root 3 is 2 root 3. And then you've got times h equals 30. Simple now, simple. So that's the scales equation. These are meant to look like they're balancing. Okay, so remember we're trying to make h the thing. So what are we going to do? We're going to divide this side by 2 root 3. So you have to divide this side by 2 root 3. Yeah? Because if I divide this by 2 root 3, cancel. So really, I get to this stage. H equals 30 over 2 root 3. Now what do I do here? This is a rationalizer denominator. I could have actually cancelled this and turned this straight into 15 over by, well, here's what I'm saying. So it doesn't really matter what order we do this. But can you see I could actually cancel something right now? 2 root 3, so I'll get rid of that. So this is 15 over root 3. Now look, it wants me to give the answers that. Remember, if you ever get a fraction with the surd on the bottom, doesn't matter if it tells you to rationalize the denominator or not, you do. So remember, we times top and bottom by root 3. So that's going to give us 15 root 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom. Oops, 3 on the bottom. So remember, this is 15 times root 3 on the top. Check top. We want to cancel something, so we rewrite the top and bottom. Wait, we want to break this down a little bit more as well. So yeah, I can rewrite the top as 5 times 3 times 2. Yeah, we're at the bottom. It's 3 times 1. Cancel those. Now that we've got the top and bottom, let's change things, multiply. What are we left with? 5 root 3 over 1, which is just 5 root 3. Make sense? That's it. Alright, let's go to this one. It wants to expand this. This should be straightforward. 3 plus root 7. 3 plus root 7. Okay. 3 times 3, that's 9. 3 plus 3 times root 7. Another 3 plus root 7. Finally, root 7 times root 7 is 7, not 49. Okay, I see some people make the error as 49. It will be root 49, which is 7. So anyway, cancel this up. 7 and 9 and 7 gives you 16. 3 root 7, 3 root 7, that gives you 6 root 7. Okay, so that is your answer. See that? It works exactly the same way as doing this. So that becomes 16 plus 6x. Surds work exactly the same as algebra, if you like a bit. Hence or otherwise, show that 3 plus root 7 is a solution of this. So firstly, be very clear what that means. Some people get stuck on something which says this. Yeah. So it's saying that, look, they've given you this equation here, and they're saying, show me that this works for that. This is exactly the same as if someone said this to you. Someone said that 2x, they're like, show that, you know, this is even easier. Imagine if someone told you that, show that x equals 2 is a solution for this. What would you do? What do you think? How would you show that x equals 2 solves this? Simple. Replace that x with 2. So you do 2 times 2 minus 4. And obviously you can see that's 4 minus 4, and that equals 0. Yeah? That's all you have to do here. Don't worry that it's a quadratic. Yeah? Understand the question. That's the most important thing. So here's what you do. Here's what we're going to have to do. We're going to literally stick it in here. So, you know, we're going to have to do that. We're going to show that 3 plus root 7 squared minus 6 lots of 3 plus root 7 plus 2 apparently equals 0. So we've got to show that this thing equals 0. Now, remember, look at this word hence, yeah? And this is another one of those, when you see part 1s and 2s or A's and B's, yeah? You know, there's a good chance you're going to be using earlier answers, especially if it says hence. Hence is guaranteed, so it's saying use this to make your life easier so you don't need to redo the work. Because, you know, there are some students who will literally multiply this out again and they'll get to that. But it says, look, I get it. This is 6 plus 6 root 7. So now look at this as well, yeah? So this one, remember, it's minus 6 plus that. Yeah? So that's going to give you minus 18. Remember, then it's minus 6 plus times plus root 7. So that's going to give you minus 6 root 7 and finally a 2. So have a look at this. So this, you know straight away here, that's plus 6 root 7 cancels with this minus 6 root 7. Tongue twisters, man. Tongue twisters. Right, then you're just left with 16 minus 18 plus 2, which I shouldn't really have to show you too much, equals 0. Okay? So that's it. It does work for that. So it's really about understanding the question as assuming you think you know what to do. So like this one. It goes this equation, which is this equation here. It goes has 2 solutions. The sum of these solutions is 6. What is the second solution of the equation? 1 mark. That's also interesting as well, because 1 mark's telling you there's not much work to do here, man. Yeah? Don't go crazy. Don't go try, you know, making A equals 1, B equals minus 6, C equals 2, you know, doing this by quadratic formula. Obviously, if you did, you can work that out. You can, you know, if you're interested, you can put that into the quadratic formula and you'll find the 2 answers. But surely that's not 1 mark's worth of work. So here's the deal. What's the question asking? It says, look, it has 2 solutions. It even says, what's the second solution? Here's the deal. This question showed that this thing was the first solution. So it just wants a second. And it tells you. So it says the 2 solution sums. So basically this, 3 plus root 7, add whatever the hell the other thing is, x. You know they add to give you 6, right? So that's how we make the algebra. Like the first thing, 3 plus root 7, add whatever the other thing is going to give you 6. What's the deal? This is now a scales equation, huh? So you got 3 plus root 7 plus x, and you got 6 over here. What are you going to do? You're going to take away 3 for a start. So that'll give you to root 7 plus x equals 3. Then you know, so I can just do that. Plus, minus 3, minus 3. What's the next thing you're going to do? Minus root 7. Yeah, and finally, x equals 3 minus root 7. That's your answer. 3 minus root 7. You can double check this as well. 3 minus root 7 plus 3 plus root 7, you know, those two things, this and this. Do they give me 6? Well, yeah, these cancel. 3 plus 3, 6, yeah. Right, so that's that question then. So, but hopefully you're getting the thinking behind these. Don't you worry, guys. Plenty more questions to come. Plenty more questions. This is a good one, actually. Find the value of x. Oh, firstly, area of the rectangle is 30 centimeters squared. Then it gives you two sides. Find the value of x. Writing your answer in the form a root b, where a, b, and a integers. Now, you know what this is? This is another one of those questions. I guess the last one was that as well. Yeah. Well, no, last one or the one before that. You've got to basically look. If you're going to find that x, you've got to make some sort of algebraic equation where, you know, there's x, so you can solve it using the scales. That's what all these questions. That's what a lot of these questions are going towards. So here's the deal. You know, you need to find this x. So think about this. What information is it giving you? You know that the area of this thing is equal to 30. But here's the deal. You also know how to find out the area of any rectangle. Area of the rectangle is either base times height or width times length. It really doesn't matter what you use. Except, yeah, can you see the width here? Well, it would be that one. It doesn't really matter which way around you do it. We know that's 3 root 2. And obviously length is x. So look, 3 root 2 times x, yeah? That's the area. Just as we looked at that, but we know that's equal to 30. So these two things must be equal. So that's what you do. You do 3 root 2 x equals 30. Yeah, that's a scales equation. Yeah. So what am I going to do? You know, I just need to make x the subject now, and I'm pretty much just done. First thing I'll probably do, I mean, I can do it all at once if I'm comfy with that. You know, just going straight to dividing by 3 root 2. But here's the deal. If I wanted to do step by step, I could just do divide by 3 first. Get rid of that, turn that into 10, right? So there's the thing. I could go to root 2x. What am I doing? Root 2 times x equals 10. Finally, I just got to divide by root 2, right? So yeah, x equals 10 root 2. But remember, if you ever see a fraction with square root on the bottom, it's always a rationalized denominator question. Every single time. That's what you do. Then on the top becomes 10 root 2 and the bottom becomes 2. You can cancel that. That becomes 5 root 2. And there's your answer. 5 root 2. A nice 3 marker, right? And it's more, this will scare a lot of people. This will scare a lot of people. But did you notice as well, this kind of same thing happened with a few of these other ones as well. Where was it? Yeah, this one, you know, they tell you the area of the shape. Yeah, and they want you to find out one of these, like heights or base or something like that. So what you do is, you're just like, well, you know, this is a triangle. They've told me that the area of this whole triangle is 30, okay. But here's the deal, I know how to work out the area of a triangle. I would just be doing half times that, which you can then simplify down to this thing, yeah? And then you just made them equal, and that's how. Do you see here? This question, you need to find h. So what you did, by using those two bits of information, where area equals 30 and area equals half times base times height, where you know the base, you make those two things equals, because they've got to be the same, right? They've got to be the same. And that allowed you to create a bit of algebra, which had h, yeah? And then it was just a case of scales, all right? A lot of questions work like this every single time. So, all right, so let's have a look at this. Let's switch up to blue now. So, all right, so you need to find the value of x with this, all right? So first thing I always do, I see root 50. I'm going to break that down. Remember, there's a few ways, but the smartest way is root 25 root 2. That will give me 5 root 2. So I'm almost thinking of it like, you know, or immediately, I'm just thinking of it like this. 2, no, what am I talking about? 5 root 2. Yeah, well, let me actually even, so yeah, I get rid of that. Okay, and it's like, you know, I don't even want it, man. I do the same thing. 5 root 2. Okay, so it's a scales equation now. This is what I want. This little x is what I want. So the first thing I'm going to do, there's a few things happening to this x. First, it's square rooted here. Then it's also times by this, but this whole thing's multiplied by root 5. First thing I'm going to do, times both sides by root 5. That's going to make it cancel on this. So I'll get to root x times 5 root 2 equals, what did the other side equal? So I had 4 root 5, I times it by root 5. That gives me 4 times 5, which is 20. So I've got this equal to 20. There's a good few ways I can do this. I can join this up. Obviously I've got 2, so this is the same as 5 times root x times root 2. So yeah, I can join those two together. Root 2x times 5. Yeah, so I get this 5 square root of 2x equals 20. That's a good way to do it. Divide both sides by 5. I've got square root of 2x equals 4. What I do now is square both sides. So this side will square off and give me 2x, and that gives me 16. Finally divide both sides by 2. I got 8. Yeah, 8 is the answer to this. There you go. It's nice 4 marks, isn't it? As well, nice 4 marks. And listen, there were loads of ways you could have done this. Let me show you like another way you could have possibly done it. The lines are disappearing. Loads of ways. So okay, I'll go back to the original thing. What was it? You had like root x times root 50 over root 5 equals 4 root 5. So I mean, I might just times both sides by root 5, and that's just a very sensible thing to do. Get rid of that times it. So you get to the point where 50 x times root 50 goes 4 root 5 times root 5, which equals 20, just like we did. I could join this up, make this 50x equals 20. Yeah, I could then square both sides at this stage, so I get 50x. Yeah, equals 20 times 20, which is 400. Finally divide by 50. 400 over 50, that's 8. So there's loads of ways. What I'm trying to say as well, like, don't think, I'm sure if you looked at the mark scheme of this question, you could have, it might not show that way. That way is still correct. There's loads of ways. I could have showed you loads of ways to do this. I could have literally at this stage decided to rationalize the denominator for that and then solve it for that. I could have, there's so many ways. I could have just done this question so many ways. So okay. So that's the thing. Alright, write this in the form. First thing should be straightforward. Let's break down that root 28 and that root 63. Root 28 equal to root 4 times root 7. And here's the thing, if it's telling you in the form root 7, you can pretty well be sure this is just trying to break it down to 7 times something. So and I bet you that something will be a nice number. So this becomes 2 root 7. So we can write this as 2 root 7. 63, let's think of this. 7 times what gives us 63? 9. Yeah, not a coincidence. So root 63 you can call as root 7 times root 9. We know root 9 is 3 root 7. So look at that. This is the same as saying this, which is 5 root 7. Exactly how 2x plus 3x would equal 5x. Exactly the same things happened there. Simplify this by rationalize the denominator. Easy bloody question. So we times top and bottom by root 5 times root 5. Remember, rationalize the denominator. Why is it giving us this? So they're giving us a fraction where the denominator, root 5, is not rational because it's a surd. So we've just got to change this fraction up so that the bottom isn't a surd. We don't really care what happens to the top. So that's why times by root 5 times root 5. Top becomes 30 root 5. Bottom becomes over 5. That's the same as if I rewrite top and bottom as a chain of things multiplying. You can see that and cancel those things. And I'm just left with 6 root 5. There you go. Nice or what? Right, we're getting close to the end of this Third question bonanza. Now, this one is actually exactly the same question as, I think I actually even showed it. This is the exact same question I used on that video about like the important thing about surds, which most people don't get. Now, this looks like a straightforward question, but look, there's 2 marks for this. Doesn't this seem very easy for 2 marks? It's just saying what number times itself gives you 36. So obviously 6 times 6 gives you 36. So your answer is 6 for sure, but where you get the second mark is also understand that minus 6 times minus 6 equals 36. So you have to say or you could have said and, it doesn't really matter. You do that. Or you could have written it as plus minus 6 if you're really fancy. Okay? Either one would have been correct. Watch that video. The last video, what was it called? An important fact about surds, which hardly anyone knows. I can't remember what I called it, but that makes sense, right? So, okay, show clearly that this is, how's this going to lead to surds? So, let's just do this. This should be pretty straightforward. X minus y, x plus y. They want to show that that is the same as saying that. Well, x times x will give you x squared. X times plus x times plus y will give you plus xy. Look at this. Minus y times plus x will give you minus xy. Yeah, can you see these are going to cancel? Then minus y times plus y gives you minus y squared. Well, these cancel. So you get x squared minus y squared. Now, all this is going towards, do you remember in the tough rationalize the denominator question? Where, can you imagine if y's were surds or something? This is just it trying to show you that, look, if you literally have two brackets multiplying together, which have opposite signs, you get rid of any surds, because obviously any surd squared. I'll show you, but this is leading you to towards something. So they tell you to show that, okay? And then this is a real beast. So this is firstly isn't a right angle triangle. This one barely anyone got right. Now, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? This question involves knowing a lot of stuff. So I'll get onto where that comes from, okay? So this question, remember that was part A. So alright, remember they don't just kind of give this stuff for fun. It clearly looks unrelated, but it's not. So this isn't a right angle triangle. You're given that sine 75. God knows why you're given sine 75, right? You should be thinking, why are they giving me sine 75? And it goes, show that the area of the triangle ABC is 2.5 centimeters. Now with this one, most people would think, oh, I need to do half times base times height. So they might be tempted to kind of say, oh, half, oh, that times that base, 5 root 2, times height. Oh, in reality, if you want to do it like that, you would need to know this height. Yeah, it's the perpendicular height to the base. That's another thing as well. It's not the slanted one, but do you see we don't have that? So some people were kind of, fell into the trap of doing half times that times that. Yeah, totally wrong, because that's not how you find out the area of a triangle anyway. You can't just use whatever they give you. This isn't the height. So that's a mistake which people made. Obviously, and here's another way where you know that's probably not going to be right. This is it's telling you that sine 75 equals this. Why is that of any use to you in this? So that's the giveaway. Now, how do you answer this? There is a second way to find the area of a triangle, and it's half AB sine C. It's actually on the front of the exam paper. You don't actually need to remember this rule. The only thing you do have to know is how to label the triangle. So if this question doesn't make sense, it might be worth you guys kind of skipping this question altogether for now. But it means this, you've got to pick a few sides. So if I call this A, I have to call that angle A. If I call this B, I have to call that angle B. If I call this, then this side becomes C, and I have to call this angle big C. Okay, can you see that's so it's half AB sine, and that's a capital C. the way you remember that is two sides and the angle in side. So if you ever have two sides of a shape, of a triangle, and you have the angle in between it, you can actually find the area. Now this isn't going to make sense to most of you. Maybe you can take my word for it though. If you have two sides and the angle inside between them, you can find it literally by that. And it's simple as this. It's just saying half times a, so this one, times root 3 minus 1, times b, which is 5 root 2. Remember, you have to put the bracket around this as well. Because what this says is, this is saying half times that whole length. Yeah? Times this whole length. Yeah, but this whole length has two things to it. It has a minus root 3 and a minus 1. So if you don't put that times in there, remember, if you just wrote this, half times square root of, imagine, if you write this, that's completely wrong, because if you think about BODMAS, you'd be multiplying that together, taking away that minus that, but that's not the point. You're supposed to multiply that by all of that by all of that. That's why you have to keep a bracket. And finally, so I've done half times a times b, then I need to do sine of the angle in between, 75. Now, that's how you start this off. And now the next thing is, do you see they're giving you that? So, and this is a non-calculated paper, by the way. Mostly sine and cosine rules don't come up in the non-calc, but they're giving you what this is. So after that, what you really do is you've got to substitute this with what they're giving you in that, this thing here. And that's it. And then this is, you just kind of, you have to do this, and the best way to do is put these all over 1. Remember, this is a 1 over 2. You can multiply all these two. So all the tops, yeah? And I'll go into more detail about this another time anyway, but this is for you more to just see like how they just kind of stick these kind of questions like everywhere. Yeah? And this is all going to be over 2 root 2. A few things you can do here. Can you see this is already a chain of things multiplying? That times 5 times root 2. That's the chain of things multiplying that. So I can already cancel that off. Now this thing here, yeah? You want to do those two brackets. Now, I mean, this isn't the most obvious thing. So what they're trying to say here, this was kind of like a little hint, yeah, to this. Now we can do this ourselves anyway. We don't need that hint. Yeah, if we did this, so we're multiplying that thing together, then we're going to times the whole thing by 5, yeah. So can you see that will be square root of 3 times square root of 3, which is just 3. Then you get plus root 3 here, get minus root 3 here, and you get minus 1 here. So this whole thing, don't forget these cancel, gives you 2. Yeah, it literally gives you 2. So correct. I swear I've made a little mistake here somewhere, have I? Oh, no. By the way, yeah. So this is half times 2 things. So this should have also been 4. God, I've been a bit sloppy today. I'm disappointed with myself. But anyway, this whole thing is just 2. So you end up just being at 2 times 5 over 4, which is 10 over 4, which is 5 over 2, which is in fact 2.5, like they said. Now, you know, all they were trying to get at here is where they're like, you know, if you kind of make, instead of this, so you make x equals root 3 and y equals 1. But like if you do that thing, yeah, do you see that? They're saying it's just going to end up giving you square root of 3 squared, yeah, minus 1 squared, yeah, which is 3 minus 1 equals 2. So they were trying to help us out when we kind of spot this, but you don't even need this. Like, if you're good at this and you understand that, it just works like algebra. This is what it's kind of actually even in a way telling you. If you replace these x and y's with square roots. It just works like algebra, nothing different. So again, that's a tough question, and to be honest, it's one which I didn't really bother spending too long on, because this half AB sine C and stuff like that, realistically I probably shouldn't have even put it in. So, but, you know, for anyone who does know that formula, that might make sense to you. But if that question didn't make a huge amount of sense, I don't really want you to worry too much. Yeah, don't stress it. So here's an interesting question. So it says, here's these two rectangles, yeah? And it goes, they're equal in area. So whatever the area of this is the same as that. Tell you the two lengths of that. Tell you one length of that. And what they want you to do is calculate the length of B. So they want you to calculate what this whole length is. And there you go, it just give you an answer in the form of that. Okay, well what can you do here? Now you need, because you need this x, you need to create a formula somehow which involves this x. Now, this is what the deal is. Like, the only real formula this whole thing's going to be involved in is, can you see, like, the area of B, yeah, area, is going to have to equal x, width times length, which here the width is root 3 and the thing is x. So the area for this thing is root 3x. Okay? But we don't actually know what the value of the area is for this one. But we do know that the areas between these are equal. So here's what we do. Now, if we can find out the area of this, then we have the area of that. And whatever that is, then we can make this equal to that. And then we have a equation of algebra where we can use x using the whole scale stuff. So it's simple. You just have to kind of like work this out. How are you going to work the area of this out? Just that times that. You know, that's literally it. So let's work at the area of A equals square root of 10 minus 2 square root of 10 plus 2. How do you do that? Square root of 10 times square root of 10 equals 10. Square root of 10 times plus 2 plus 2 root 10. Now this one, how lovely is that? It's minus 2 root 10. So that's going to cancel with the last thing. And finally, minus 2 times plus 2. That's minus 4. These cancel. Then we've got 10 minus 4 equals 6. So we know the area of this is equal to 6. Therefore, the area of this is equal to 6. Yeah, but we also know the area of this can be written as square root of 3 x. So that's the deal. That means this must equal this. And that's really where the kind of difficulty of this question was at. Okay, scales thing, blah, blah, blah. You want to divide both sides by square root of 3. Make that cancel. Then you get to that. Obviously, so we're saying x equals 6 over root 3. Yeah, we don't take fractions with surds on the bottom. That means rationalize it. We do that. And we get 6 root 3 over 3, almost done. Apparently it's going to be just a number times root 3. And that's because you can literally cancel this. So we write top and bottom. I mean, realistically, most of you just know you can go straight to 2 root 3. But here's why again, because we rewrite the top and bottom as a chain of stuff multiplying. Cancel that thing. We get 2 root 3 over 1. Just 2 root 3. Alright, so a lot of surd questions there. Now, here's the deal, like, don't worry if every one of these questions didn't make sense. Like, you've got to kind of get comfy in accepting that, I'm going to teach you stuff. You're either I'm going to teach you it, you go through these videos, I teach you in person, which should be the best, or you go through like a revision guide, or you watch some other YouTube videos, or whatever, yeah? You're not going to get it always first time, but here's what you do. A lot of students, when that happens, they panic and don't get it. You've just got to kind of relax, man. You've got to accept that a little bit and understand that you'll get it a little bit. It will kind of, I don't know what happens. I don't know how it happens. But, it just sinks around in your head. Give it time, move on to something else. Then there'll be a time when you go over this again, or like you're doing some other questions, and things will just start clicking. You gotta take my word for that. The only real thing you have to do is keep kind of trying, And really don't try to worry too much about this. But a lot of it should make sense to you. If you haven't perfected it, and for example, especially that last question I went over, you know, if that kind of, you go, oh, I don't get it, don't worry, okay? As long as you're getting some of this stuff, yeah? So what I say now, stop this. Here's the thing, if you don't get it, also go over the videos again. You'll get it much more. Tips though, make sure you go over the questions. As I do them on the video, make sure you always try questions. Don't just read through mark schemes. You know, if you're watching a video, just let somebody else do it like I do on this. Get involved and don't stress it too much, right? I know a lot of you aren't going to take that advice because you're going to think that sounds all happy clappy and all nice. But you're just going to have to take it, yeah? I promise you. That's how stuff works. It's not, the fact that you don't get it the first time is normal. You're going to have to accept it's normal. And the longer you don't accept it's normal and keep worrying and beating yourself up, that's what's actually stopping you, all right? So, take a deep breath. Hopefully you kind of run through all these things. That is the whole of Surds done. And now, we're going to go on to simultaneous equations, which you're going to see is big. You know, they come all the time. They're worth loads of marks. They're easy. Yeah, the one thing I do want you to do though before you get into simultaneous equations, recap scales. Make sure you're happy with how all the scale stuff work, and definitely for the harder simultaneous equations, go over quadratics again if you need to. If you can't solve quadratics, you can't do the harder simultaneous equation questions. If you can do quadratics, the hard simultaneous equations are a joke. They're so easy. Yeah, that's it. All right. Okay, so I'll see you in the next batch of videos. Yeah, see you in the next batch of videos.